Hello, 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 and welcome back to Factorio 1.0. This is Space Exploration Mod, and I'm Board Bob. So, in our last episode, we got hit by that Corona ejection, and it really kind of wiped out our power system and what have you. I said I would give some thoughts to what I was going to do about it and play with the numbers and that sort of thing, and that's what I did. So here's what I figured out, guys. Because we got another one coming. It's going to be here in 16 game hours at this point. And according to this, the energy for the defense is 182 gigajoules. That's how much it's supposedly going to take to defend it. Now, if you read down here, it says a 5,000 radius planet, 100% solar, is expected to be around 160 gigajoules over 2 minutes. This is the general description. And then I'm pretty sure this is what your actual attack is going to be. So 182 gigajoules. Now, the reason for the disparity in these two numbers, this 160 and this 182, is pretty simple. If we look at Navis has a radius of 5,692. It's got 100% solar, but it's 692 larger than whatever this radius is. It doesn't say what the units are. So it's slightly larger, so that gives us an idea. We can sit down, and I haven't done the math on this yet. We can sit down and figure out what the ratio of the power is versus the size of the planet. The nice thing is it's 100% solar. This is 100% solar. So it only gives us the one variable that we've got to figure out, which is really kind of nice instead of trying to figure out two variables, because I really don't want to be sitting here doing quadratic equations at 1 in the morning. But having said that, that tells us we got to come up with 182 gigajoules. Now, if we look, accumulators give us 5 megajoules per accumulator. So if you do the math, that works out to 36,400 accumulators. And if you set them out as compact as you can and as efficiently as you can, you end up with, where's the math, 490 substations in order to spread that out. Obviously, nobody in their right mind wants to set out 36,400 accumulators. So you're going to do what we used to call, when I worked power plants, peak shaving. And peak shaving, basically, when you have a curve and it goes up and your power usage goes up, and I'm just kind of illustrating it with the cursor here, what you can do is you can flatten the top of that curve. So let's say the curve goes up like this and down. If you take off just the top of that curve and you come up and flatten it and then come back down, maybe this is your power plant can carry this much. You've only got to come up with enough to carry that curve. And you can do that with the accumulators, and it's a lot less, and you use the maximum amount of your power plant. Here's the problem. We don't know exactly what that curve looks like yet, because we've not measured it. Now, what we used to do in the military, of course, we brought in power plants after the fact, and we would do peak shaving based off of, what we knew was there. And we'd estimate the size based on what we already knew was there. Well, we don't know what's there yet, so we're going to find out. So, like I said, nobody in their right mind would lay down 36,000 accumulators. I've never been accused of being in my right mind. I laid down 36,000 accumulators. There they are, guys. That's a little over 36,000. It's actually 38,000. All right. I wanted to give us a little bit of a buffer. So there are 38,000 accumulators laid out in these arrays. Now, initially I was going to put anti-meteorite guns, you know, all throughout here, and that would have worked. You know, we would have had these circles, but then you'd have had like 4 of these on each one on down the line. It turns out to be a lot of those. Instead, what I ended up doing is we have those planetary defense meteor guns, which, you know, they look the same, only they're bigger. That's the meteorite guns. This is the meteor guns. They take a different ammo, and the ammo takes batteries and whatnot to make them, but it protects the whole planet. So we're gonna rely on them. I'm gonna keep them full. Right now, this one's got 14 in it, and this one's got 19 in it. I'm probably going to automate the process and keep these suckers full. To heck with these little ones and having to go back and fill them all the time, and you know, parts of my plant are covered and little parts of my plant aren't covered, and we're just going to use these suckers. They supposedly cover the whole planet. We're going to put like maybe 4 of them in an array, because each one can only shoot down 1 meteor at a time, 80% accuracy, blah, blah, blah. If we have 4 of them, we think we should be okay. And I think we can afford to keep 4 of these suckers online and supplied with ammo pretty easily. Now, here's the plan for our accumulators. I want to map the curve of the power consumption for that defensive shield. Lights. So what I'm going to do, and what I've done, is I've gone through and I've run a system. The only place that this is currently hooked up, actually, yeah, to the entire grid is right here. Alright. It's hooked up here as well, but we'll get into that in a second. This is the only connection to the entire grid, which means the entire factory, what have you. If I throw that switch, I have disconnected this from the entire grid except for this line and this line. These 2 lines are not connected to the grid. They are a separate grid entirely, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If we click on this substation right here, we can see that we've got the steam turbines, we've got the solar panel, we've got all the accumulators, and we got all the crap that's in the factory, right? If we open this switch and we click on that same substation, the only thing we've got is the 38,000 accumulators. None of the rest of our equipment is hooked into those 2 lines of that grid. Okay? So it isolates this from the grid. Bring it back, everything's there. What those 2 lines do, and we're going to follow this one over this direction, is they isolate just our power supplies from our plant. So over here we've got our 1 steam plant, alright, and we had that switch that we had set up in order to, at a certain load, it's going to kick this on so that we can peak shave our nuke plant, so that our nuke plant is running at max load all the time and we're not wasting coal. So that was there before. I've added a second switch, so I can actually open this switch and disconnect this plant from the grid, right? And then if I close this switch, it reconnects it because the other ones are still connected. But it will connect it only to the other power supplies. In other words, the accumulators, the nuke plant, etc. Because what I've done is I've done the same thing over here, and I've done the same thing at our other power plant. You guys go repair those. Repair those other 2 poles while you're there. Go on, go, my pretties. Release the flying monkeys. Hey, I'll get you, my pretty little dog Toto, too. So as we go over, you'll notice it loops over top of these lines, but does not hook into them. It does eventually hook in, but it hooks in before this switch. If I open this switch, and I open this switch, it disconnects my my nuke plant from the power plant. Now you'll notice I'm running off of the accumulators right now, so everything's running. But you see this is going down, so the accumulators are running. If I then turn around and close this switch, it's going to connect me to the accumulators. So again, we're isolating ourselves completely by going through and opening all of those switches, including this power plant. When we isolate it and the other 2 power plants up here, we've done exactly the same thing. And I've run that line down, and I'll show you where we'd run it. That was the other one that went up the back side of the plant, basically. And it's not very neatly run. It's just kind of, I snaked it up through here as best I could without connecting it to anything else. And it's all run on big power poles so that I can distinguish it. And again, we can go over here, we can disconnect this one and close this one. And we've isolated this part of the power plant to just the accumulators. And the same thing up here. So when this next one comes, what our plan is, I am going to shut down power to the entire factory. That includes the lasers, because the lasers take quite a bit of draw. And run only the defensive grid. That one defensive building will be hooked up over by the accumulators. That'll be the shortest run to it to feed it. And it will be fed by every power plant we have. It will be fed by the accumulators. That should be enough power to meet this requirement for the entire 2 minutes. What I want to do at that point is, just like you can go on here and you can look at your power usage over time, and you can look at it go up and down. We're going to set this for 1 minute, and we'll be able to look at, and we can go back, we'll be able to go back into the video and look at this curve and see whether it's a linear curve, whether it's a logarithmic curve, what that curve is going to be. We'll be able to see what the peak power on it is, and how long it's above certain intervals. What that's going to allow us to do is to plot that curve out. We can then take our what our power plant output is, and we can take what our accumulator outputs are, and we can figure out our minimum number of accumulators in combination with the power plant, so that we're not like putting down 60,000 accumulators. We're only putting down, say, 10,000 maybe, or something like that, whatever it is, to shave off the top of that to meet our requirement. Because I was looking at numbers, and even a 12 reactor plant, we're still only at 1.7. We don't make that, what is it? It's 2 gigawatts. We're at 1.7. We're still low. So we need to make up that number. We need to find out how long we have to make up that number for, etc. So we're going to be able to look at that with our curve. And we'll take some screenshots of that, and we can sit down and we can crunch some numbers, and we can figure it out. Not only that, but because, let's get rid of this, because of the fact that Navis is 100% solar, we'll be able to figure out what the 692, how much that has an effect on that power because it's higher than what we expected it to be. We can kind of figure out per radius or whatever it is what that power is going to be. Is it going to get bigger, etc. Because we got all these other planets that are different sizes, and they are different solar. Like this is 98, but in orbit it's 500%. Etc. Etc. Alaz is 112% solar efficiency, but it's only 2,000 radius. So we'll be able to put this into a spreadsheet potentially, and we'll be able to figure it out. And we can say, okay, this is what I got, and this is what my efficiency is. This is the size of the planet. What is my likely to be hit with? And we can start planning it before we have one coming, so that we're not scrambling ass before something gets here to try and get all these accumulators situated and what have you. So that's the plan. Meanwhile, what we're going to do is I have been playing around with these smelters. So we've got our iron smelter going, okay, but we need steel, and our steel is lackluster at best. We got this little tiny steel smelting over here that's pulling off of this. Now it's, that was pulling off of what was here. By the way, I took these out because we're fully on this new plant, this new smelting area. Now, I have not made speed modules or productivity modules to put in here yet, but the beacons are here and they are ready. So we will be able to beacon these. I don't think I brought any beacons over with me. No, I didn't. But each of these beacons will hold 8 modules. So we will be able to fully beacon this whole thing. It's already set up for it. We'll get that sucker going when we need it. We don't need it right now, but we need to up our iron production. So that is what this is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it next to my iron production. This is going to be my steel production. I'm going to put it in next to my iron production, and we're going to feed it off of this same rail station. Simply because we're here, it makes sense, and we're just going to do it. So we're gonna release the flying monkeys and let them do their thing. I've already got everything up here, and we'll get this hooked up. But this train system seems to be working pretty good. We're going to add trains to this. We've only got the one iron field right now. We're going to go ahead and get more going, and bring more trains in. We can bring up to 3 trains at a time into the station. So we will have plenty of productivity as far as making our iron and making our steel. So what I did is I kind of played around with this, and I tried to figure out the best way to put these in so that they would affect, the most we could do without doing overlaps, because you can't overlap these. It will yell at you and it won't let you do it. It shuts down. Whatever piece of equipment is overlapped shuts down. So we have to go with an every other one thing. So I kind of played with laying it out and stuff, and this is about the best I could kind of figure out with this without using bots. Now, eventually, this is all still belt-based. It's not bot-based. We don't have enough bots. We're not making enough bots yet. In fact, we don't even have any roboports up. The only roboports we have is the portable roboport in our armor. And we're only using that just for construction and deconstruction purposes. eventually. I know everything is eventually, and I got to get, there's so much stuff I got to get to, but I've been, you know, scratching my head with all this new space exploration tech, and trying to learn it and figure it out and what have you, that I'm going slow with all the other stuff. Because all the recipes are different, the way they work is different, etc., etc. So I'm really behind the curve on where I should be. If you look at this, I'm 7 days, 20 hours, and that's 7 24-hour days. That's how many hours total? 188 hours. You know, that we've been playing this game, that we are on this particular save. And there's certain basic items that we're still not making in the factory, and we got to get to that. We've farted around with all this other stuff enough. We've got our research going in space. We've kind of figured out space. Now we've got this protection system figured out, and launching these other rockets and what have you. Now it's time to get back to the basics and grow our factory. So that's where we are right now. That's why I'm putting in these smelting areas. We're going to really start getting back into production and get our production going. So the way this is set up is it's going to come into those 3 spots. And then it's going to feed into here, and down this one. Into here, and down this one. This center one's going to feed, you know, both of these center ones, so it may get a little bit depleted on ore, but we'll deal with it. We're only bringing 3 over as opposed to 4 lines that we're bringing over here, but it's steel, so we should be able to to grab it with no problem. Now, I do not remember if this balancer book, and I don't know that it does. I think this is all just straight balancers. I don't think there's any pickoffs in here. There are not. Okay, so we're going to have to pick off to each of the, you know, split this evenly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kill, it's going to hurt our production for a little bit. The factory is not going to like it. But that's life. The factory can hang it in its ass. All right. So we want to go from this one over and down, right? Over and down. Then we want to go from this one over and down. Right? And then from this one over and down. And then this one, we can just go down because we only need off of 3 of them. So we could have actually done it could have left that one the hell alone. Right? And then this one. Over. And down. And down. Now I am going to look. There's probably a better way to balance these. And I'm sure somebody out there has a better way of doing this. This is just me throwing this together just to get it going. But there's probably a more balanced way of doing this. Or a less shitty looking way of doing it, probably anyway. I'm assuming. But we are now, and I'm gonna look, and I may use it, I may not, because here's the thing. We're inventing the wheel at this point. We are getting into where I want to start building this and getting up to my mega factory kind of thing, if you will. And that's all stuff I've never done before, so it's all new to me. I build the. I usually I play and I make end game, and then I play around for a while and I get bored and I want to go back to making the beginning again. So, so that's, you know, that's the deal there. So I've never really gone past, you know, winning the game, if you will. So we're going to start reinventing the wheel. I hate reinventing the wheel, but we are going to start reinventing the wheel. I'm going to leave 2 spaces here. I say I hate reinventing the wheel, and I do when it's normal, everyday stuff. There's no, you know, if somebody's already figured out a good way or a better way, it makes not a whole lot of sense to, you know, not use it if it's a good way, if it's the best way, if it's whatever. Oh, look, telephone pole. That being said, it's one of the whole joys of Factorio, right? And we are now getting into that stage of the game. Oops. So we're going to do a lot more stuff that there's probably better ways, and there's probably people going to look at me and go, what the F are you doing? And I'm okay with that, because that's the point we are at. We're going to bring this down, and we're going to go there. We're probably going to move this because I know we're moving the copper. Now, we may only move the copper up and do the smelting and the station up here above it, you know, and use these lines down to the factory, but we're going to go past it for now, or around it for now. But what we are going to do is we're going to take this crap out right here. I'm going to help our buddies along here. Because you, sir, have been very useful, but you are not useful any longer. You have become obsolete. Oops. Not you. But you, sir, are indeed obsolete. Oh well. Mainly I was just trying to wait for it to use up all the crap in the belt. We'll reconnect across in a moment. There we go. Why am I still using telephone poles? Mainly because I have them. Now, when we get down here further, we're going to run into an issue. Because right now, on our bus, we are only using one line of iron. So we're going to have to shoehorn a second iron line in here. And I don't know whether it's going to be on this side or this side. Obviously through here it's going to be on this side, because the stone is there. Looks like we'll be able to shoehorn it down through here. Alright, we're not going to do it right this second. We're going to leave it right there where it is. I will work on threading this through off camera, because there's a lot of crap to thread through. And some of the stuff like this, I want to get, you know, that second line feeding and stuff like that. So we'll deal with it. But for right now, I would say that our iron production is a hell of a lot better than it was. super. It ain't saturated yet. But it appears, all except for this center one, which is pulling off from both sides. Maybe we'll scoot this over and we'll put another line in. Maybe we'll feed 4 lines over here. I think we're going to feed 4 lines over here. We're going to take this part, scooch it over 1 belt width, and we'll run 2 belts down here. I'll do that off camera. I'll just have the bots do it. But there we go. There is our iron smelting, our steel smelting. And this line looks pretty full. I mean, it's staying consistent. 15K, 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 15K. That train must have just come through. Let's see how long it takes to unload. It's going to take a while because apparently this is full. Right? So yeah, it's going to take a while to unload because that's full, but still, that's pretty nice. I mean, it's going over there and coming back before this is getting a chance to completely empty. And once we get all the rest of these going, we should not have any problems with our throughput on our iron anymore. Especially once we beacon these suckers. So there we go. That's been, you know, the grand tour of what's going on. We're still working it. I'm gonna, like I say, I'm gonna thread this steel down through here. We'll get it snaked in. I'll revamp that steel smelting now that I know the weakness on it, and we shall go from there, guys. But I will film again for this, and we will see how it goes with this whole new accumulator array. And yeah, it took a little bit of doing to do this, but and yeah, it's probably, a lot of people are probably looking at this and thinking I'm kind of stupid, and to be honest with you, I'm one of you. I think this was kind of a stupid idea in a way, but it will give us definitely empirical data on just exactly how this thing functions, and then we can tear it up and use it other places. You know, it's not like we won't use these accumulators, because we have other space stations we're going to build, we have other planets we're going to go to, we're going to need them for our defenses for those places, so we'll use it, you know. But there you go. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's going on. Oh, the other thing is, and I'll show you, I pulled all of these lasers that were on the inside. I pulled out all of the lasers. That gives us a little more breathing room on our power as well. The train went through. So that's going to give us a little more breathing room on our power. And it dropped our power from... it dropped us almost by half. We had close to 8, I think we had like 8,000 lasers out there or something like that. I'll have to go back and look at the other video. So it dropped our power consumption by half on our lasers. That's how many lasers were out there. So, but as you can see, 192 gigajoules. That should cover us. All right, guys. So there it is, and I will get back to you and talk to you later. All right. Bye.